Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to Sunless Skies. Now this is a brand new game just released by the developer Found Better Games. It's actually from the same studio as Sunless Seas, which is a game unfortunately I never played, although I heard it got quite a lot of praise. Now this one has got some rather interesting imagery. It's a space-based game, but Victorian era, so kind of fantastical, or steampunk, I guess you could call it. But we're going to go through to a bit of a playthrough here. 30 minutes or so, the first half hour, and we'll just upload this as a video so you can get a bit of a feel for how the game actually plays. So let's get into it. Right, begin a new game. If you die, you can only continue with the new captain. If you die, you can reload or continue with a new captain. So we do a legacy campaign then in that case, so that makes it a little bit roguelike, doesn't it? Aiming assistance, none, only a few player weapons arc towards targets. Enemy projectile speed, standard. Enemy projectiles move at standard or default speed. Supply consumption, standard. Fuel and supplies are consumed at the default rate. So let's go for that. So there's a few graphical options there, or very limited graphical options in fact. As we were loading up, just before we started recording actually, I jumped right in and effectively all we got control over is the resolution. But that doesn't probably matter too much in this type of game, as you'll understand why as we get into it. Log of Her Majesty's Locomotive, the Orphean, March the 14th, 1905. Our expedition to the domains of the dead has been eventful. The Orphean is damaged and in grievous need of repairs and supplies. We are returning in haste to the reach where I hope to make port at New Winchester. May God be with us. The final entry of Captain Amelia. Some fantastic sound effects here. There's some really nice music actually in the main menu. So normal all WSAD keys to get around, and we've got some drift here, Newtonian style physics, where we push forward, release the key, and I've released the key. You can see there's a bit of drift there. You have returned to the reach, an untamed sunless span of the heavens, London's new frontier, a celestial garden run wild. Q needs to dodge left and right. Nice. Oh, we got rapid dodge in there. March 15th, 1905. Your journey back from the Blue Kingdom was tumultuous. Your locomotive is crippled, and Captain Whitlock badly wounded even. As first officer, the crew look to you. The nearest station is in New Winchester. Can you get the Orphean there safely? Let's find out. I love the sound effects there. The old steam train type sound effects you can hear as it's running over the invisible rails. Much to the relief of your stokers, you find a barrel of fuel among the detritus. Oh, we found another wreckage here. Direct drifts here, less fortunate even than you, which is scavenge for repairs, a crewman suggests. Very, very nice audio there. The wreck hangs in the sky, pocked with recent gunfire. You and the boarding party don your sky suits, garments of waxed canvas, lined with felt to protect against the cold of the sky. Two of the crew are whispering as they dress. What business did Captain Whitlock have in the Blue Kingdom anyway? Why the devil did we trespass on the districts of the dead? You silence him, now's not the time. Leap across to the wreck. The gap between the two engines isn't wide, but the endless fathoms of heaven gape beneath it. Right, we mission an option here. Leap across to the wreck, so we can choose things here. Obviously there's only one thing to choose at the moment. Leading the way, you jump. Your stomach lurches with vertigo as the stars blaze above you and then below. The air of the heaven is thin and torn by unpredictable winds. Then your boots hit the running boards of the Ozymandias, and your leather-gloved hands fumbled for a hold. One of your companions throws you a line as you lash the two engines together. Only then do the rest of the boarding party follow you. One of them forces open an exterior hatch, and you clamber inside. Her interior is cold, unlit, and whistles with wind. Your party's lamp spreads buttery light over the narrow panelled passages. You make your way towards the hold, stepping over bodies crumpled in the corridor. Unfortunately, your way is blocked. The bulkhead has been mangled inward by a well-aimed barrage. Clear the obstruction away. You locate a length of pipe as you pry bar. You locate a length of pipe to use as a pry-bar. Oh wow, I'm really messing this one up. Clear the obstruction away. You locate a length of pipe to use as a pry-bar and set to work. This will test your iron skills. Iron is the skill of confrontation and overcoming. Lead your party onto a more precarious path. Go back out onto the Ozymandias hull, climb past the blockage, and enter through a window on the far side, and do so carefully. Veils is the skill of deceiving and evading. Let's go for this one here and see what happens. We're going to clear the obstruction out of the way, and we failed. It's a shame, a memory. As you strain against the stubborn steel, you remember an event from a year ago. A boiler explosion had trapped an engineer beneath a tangle of plating and pipework. The captain was first on the scene. You were second. Together, you pried the wreckage upwards, enough for you to crawl beneath it, and while the captain braced the bar across her back. "By all means, take your time," she grunted, as you dragged the engineer out. Back in the present, the twisted bulkhead yields suddenly. The crewman cries out as its jagged edge bites him. Oh no. You order him taken back to the Orpheon, while the rest of you press on. The way is clear. You've lost one crew, and you total 7. Well, that's a shame, isn't it? Wonder how many we could have potentially lost to space. You've reached the Ozymandias' hold, a ruin of smashed cargo and spilled supplies. Hopefully, somewhere amidst the detritus, you can find parts to repair the Orpheon and restock your stores. Conduct a thorough search. Your companions work quickly. The Ozymandias hull has begun to creak. Your actions on board may have compromised its integrity. We're going to lose more people, are we? Renewed, you find enough food You find enough food and gear to restock your supplies and enough spare parts to make necessary repairs to the Orpheon. The food will need to be thoroughly thawed, of course, but you've eaten worse in the skies. "Oh no!" cries one of your party, prying the lid off the long crate. It holds a cannon. Well, he doesn't shout "oh no," he shouts "oh ho." Still nestled in the straw, another crewman pulls a battered bird cage from a pile of ruined cargo. Within the cage, something winged and furred opens a sullen eye. You examine your finds. You've gained 4 supplies, a total of 5. You've gained 15 hull, and a new total of 30, doubled our hull. Nice. The Ozymandias emits a long, juddering creak. Your boarding party exchange nervous glances. From the chaos of its hold, you have retrieved repairs and supplies and discovered some useful equipment. A gun that could be mounted on your locomotive, and an educated bat. How does that work? Mount the Jerusalem cannon on the Orpheon. Her own weapons were damaged during your fight from the Blue Kingdom. That leaves you vulnerable. You claim both this and the bat. Liberate a bat and employ it as a scout. The heavens are wide, so locomotives use scouts like bats to locate things of interest. Ports, resources, wreckages. Of wrecks like this one, you can claim both this and the cannon. I don't really see difference here. I guess this means we mount the cannon right now, and this means we mount the cannon later. Let's mount the cannon later if that's what that means. Eyes in the sky. The bat treats its rescue as an inconvenience and immediately begins haggling over pay. You offer to put it back in the damn cage and leave it on the Ozymandias, at which point it becomes more polite. You doubt it will last. Well, we got a bat. The Ozymandias emits a long, juddering creak. Your boarding party exchange nervous glances. From the chaos of its hold, you have retrieved repairs and supplies, and discovered some useful equipment. A gun that could be mounted to your locomotive, and an educated bat. Mount the Jerusalem cannon. There we go. So we can do both. Just depends what order we do them in. Barbarian Fury, the Cotterall, and Athersage. Jerusalem fires single shells to a good range, more or less accurately. You order 2 of your party to get it back to your vessel and fit it immediately. The Ozymandias groans again. The structure shudders spasmodically. I have a feeling that this is going to blow apart at any time now. You now have 1 at Jerusalem. Let's keep going. The Ozymandias emits a long juddering creak. Your boarding party exchange nervous glances yet again. From the chaos of its hold, you have retrieved repairs and supplies, we know. Press on to the engine room. You might find more fuel there. You had better hurry. The Ozymandias is beginning to tear apart. You'll abandon anything you have not yet claimed from the hold. Right, we've claimed these. You unlock this, and we unlocked this. Return to the Orphean. We're going to go a little bit further. The wreckage of the Ozymandias screeches as its metal buckles and tears. You press on through the shuddering corridors, searching frantically for the engine room. Send a smaller party ahead to retrieve fuel. It's foolish for all of you to go. Send your quickest and lightest to retrieve the fuel, while the rest of you return to the Orphean. Hearts is a skill of convincing and enduring. Go yourself and conduct a hasty search. Send the rest of the boarding party back to the Ozymandias. Go on alone. Mirrors is a skill of investigating and deducing. Let's go ourselves. Yes, luckily we didn't die in the nick of time. The wreck's engines are choked with old ash. You search swiftly, aware of every creak in the bulkhead, every tremble that runs through the dead locomotive. Finding several sacks of coal, you drag them to an exterior hatch and fling them across to the Orphan before leaping after them. Unshackling your locomotive for the Ozymandias, you stoked your engines and steam away, restocked, refueled, repaired, and rearmed. You've now gained 2 fuel, a total of 4. Alright. Let's keep going. I actually want to have a look what these options are here very quickly. Hopefully nothing comes and harasses us. Hold. So in a hold, we've got a hold and we've got possessions. Minimum safe manning number 6. It's reckless to crew your locomotive with fewer than this. Okay, so we've actually got 7. We've got the bat. We've got our cannons. We've got our fuel. What else have we got here? Profile. Because the skill of convincing and overpowering. Okay. The profile. Your profile. List records all aspects of your captain's abilities, accomplishments, and reputation. The inventory. Your possessions. Anything that doesn't take up space in your hold, generally because it's small or entirely metaphysical, appears here. Your hold. This shows the current cargo and many prospects you've accepted. You can also change your locomotive's equipment here while in port, and jettison your unwanted cargo while in the port. Otherwise, what else have we got? We've got our journal. Officers. Your officers use this tab while in port to appoint them, or at any time to talk to otherwise interact with them. Which I don't think we can do that right now. We've got a chart here, which shows our locations and options. And very quickly, we just go and have a look at the graphics, what I mentioned earlier on. So there are a few more options than I initially gave the impression of. So apologies about that. We've got 1920, we've got 1080p and down to 720p. We've got full screen, font size standard, large, standard, large, texture, low or standard, transparent UI. We'll leave that on. So really not too much in the way of options here, but as I mentioned early on, we don't really need these, I don't think. Alright, let's keep going. Send out your scouts. Cost supplies. Is that the bat? Now goes our little bat. Have a safe trip, little bat. Find something good for us. Your scout returns. It has found something. Summoned by Captain Whitlock. The walls of the captain's cabin are lined with a hodgepodge of curios from across the sky. Captain Whitlock lies in bed. Black marks cover her skin like a monstrous brand. When she coughs, colds of acrid smoke pour from her lungs. Well, that sounds rather unpleasant, doesn't it? Inquire after the captain's injuries. The locomotive's doctors attends her. His lips are tight. Approach the bedside. The captain opens her eyes as you draw near. He attempts to smile. Her mouth is blistered from the blue fires that dance on her tongue. Her hand grips your arm. Her skin is hot as a kettle. Made arrangements. The Orphean will be yours. Her voice is just a rasp of burned meat breath. But promise. She breaks off to scream a word in a language that was not made for human mouths. When she resumes speaking English, she is weaker. Her request little more than a gasp. Promise me one last thing. Promise. Promise her you will obey her last command. Whatever it is, you'll see it done. Make no promise. Tell her to rest. You'll need her strength. Pull away whatever condition is contagious. Demand to know why she took the Orphean to the Blue Kingdom. It was folly to visit one of the lands of the dead. Now you're all paying the price. Let's be kind. She sinks back, relieved. In all in my will, she gasps. Be a better. She breaks off as the sigils burned into her bones flare, glowing cherry red through her flesh and skin. Be a better captain than I. The effort exhausts her, and she sinks back into the scorched pillows and a twisting, frantic fever. She's not in a very good state, is she? The walls of the captain's cabins are lined with a hodgepodge of curio. We know this. Take your leave. You leave the cabin and the scorched stink of air behind and return to the bridge. New Winchester is further than you'd like, and the captain hasn't long left. Oh. We got trouble ahead. Let's blast a hole through, I guess. I don't know how much ammo we've got. Looks like unlimited ammo. Let's prepare to shoot the other vessel, I guess. What's going on? Have we overheated the weapon? Yeah, we've got to be careful there then. I have a feeling that is a enemy, a hostile. Well, we'll shoot them up before we find out. They hadn't actually done any harm to us, had they? Poor guys. Maybe they got something. We'll dodge. That's the end of that. I wonder if they would have shot us to start with. Loot. My excuse is they were red, and red marks danger. You approach the buckled wreckage, poised to plunder the plunderers. Also, they were plunderers. Each marauder is defeated. Behind you, someone is humming a song of victory. Raid the remains. Marauders pillage homesteads and hunt travellers all across the reach. They often carry stolen valuables. We can't actually do this option here, strip it for repairs, so we go with that option. Your boarding party returns with wallets and watches, cufflinks, lockets and keepsakes. You store them in the safe to be pawned when, if you make it back to port. Okay. They didn't last long, did they? So I wonder what it is a scout found. Let's see if we can find over here. Right, Blue Kingdom Transit Valley. Is this what the... Nope, that's where we're heading towards. I wonder what the scout found. Looks like there was another area back there. I'm wondering whether or not it'd be worth going back that way rather than going to the Blue Kingdom Transit Relay. Alright, so zooming right out here. This appears to be the map for the game. I don't know if it's just one map or there's multiple maps, or if the map is randomly generated. I guess we'll find out over time, but let's progress onwards. For now, at least, let's try and get to the station. Bancroft's Forum. Down there. The taste of smog, the sound of iron on iron. We are home. New Winchester. 512 experience gained. Alright, so I guess we have to slide into the docking bay there. Gotta be careful not to hit the wall, I guess. Perfect. Arter dock. Okay. So what happens next? You coast into the bustle of the din, the soot and the steam of Wolvesey Station. It is clogged with other engines, scrappy mining locomotives from Lostrum Way, weathered explorers gleaming with frost, sleek company vessels with bright brass fittings. No sooner have you pulled into the sidings than a brusque station master bustles over. He requests to come aboard. I must speak with your captain, he insists, brandishing a ledger. The usual formalities. Look to the Orphean's doctor. He just appeared at your shoulder, his face solemn, his hat in his hands. He lowers his eyes. It's not good news. Not good news at all. The crew exchange bleak, wordless looks. The Orphean itself feels suddenly more empty. The station master looks confused, and you inform him that unfortunately Captain Whitlock has just passed. Ah, he says neutrally. Sorry to hear that. Very sad, very sad. He waits for what he considers an appropriate minute and a half before continuing. Alas, even amidst tragedy, the cogs of bureaucracy must turn. If Captain Whitlock is deceased, the station authority require their answers from the first officer. He dons a set of spectacles and locates his pen. It will be relatively painless. Name, background, purpose of visit, etc., etc. Shall we begin? Yes, let's begin, why not? Today London lies between the stars. A new empire unfolds across the heavens. But 10 years ago, before the Northern Gate was opened, before the renewed Empress led her people into the skies, it lay in a vast cavern far beneath the earth, deep, dark, marvellous. Who were you then? A street urchin. A street urchin. Did I say street? Street? No parents, no laws, no masters, but also no roof over your head, no money, and often no dinner. Freedom comes at a price. You'll begin with high vows, the skill of evading and deceiving. A soldier. Yours was not to reason why, yours was but to do and die. You'll begin with high iron, the skill of confronting and overcoming. A poet. The pen, the ink, the blank, monstrous page. You'll begin with high hearts, the skill of convincing and enduring. An academic, student of the sciences, the arts of philosophy. You'll begin with high mirrors, the skill of investigating and deducing, and we've got a whole load here. The prince, hymns and hymnals, Sundays and sermons. You'll begin with high hearts. A sailor, you've roved the mournful, merciless waters of the Unterverse, or the Untersee, or the Untersee. There we go. You'll begin with high iron, the skill of confronting and overcoming. A ministry auditor. For the time, you served as the Ministry of Public Decency, which became Her Majesty's preferred instrument. You will begin with high mirrors and the skill of investigating and deducing. So there's a bunch of different ways of getting a similar sort of skills, it looks. A revolutionary, the world is broken. One way for the rich, another for the poor. You decide to do something about it. You begin with high vows, the skill of evading and deceiving. Now I like the idea of investigating and deducing. So we can either be a ministry auditor, which sounds rather dull, or we can be an academic, which sounds equally dull, but it looks like it's got some pretty decent skills. You were an academic. Perhaps you were educated at one of the esteemed colleges of Benthic or Somerset. Perhaps you taught yourself through trial and error and grit. Practiced the practical sciences, engineering, chemistry, and anatomy. Everything you need to break something apart and put it back together again. Increase your iron, the skill of confronting and overcoming. and affiliates with your academia. The language of the heavens. They call it the correspondence, the oldest of the alphabets. It is maddening, revelatory, and occasionally inflammatory. Increase your hearts to the skill of convincing and enduring. Once the most indulgent of studies, now the most seditious, the Ministry of Public Decency has gutted the libraries. Oh wow, another... increases your vowels, the skill of evading, and the affiliates. So what have we got here? Increase your iron and skills, increase hearts and skill, increase the skill of deceiving. So I like this here, skill of convincing and enduring. We go with that. Wealth. You want a comfortable retirement, and by comfortable you mean extravagant. The truth. Even the stars have secrets, but they won't keep them from you. So I'm going to brush over some of these here. We're going to go with this option. Name MacDonald. Good old name there, but we're going to go with Obsidian. Terms of address. The Archivist Obsidian. Principal Obsidian. Administrator, Secretary, Intendant, Nurse, Comrade, Brother, Sister, Reverend, Madam, Sir, Citizen. We've got a load bunch of options here. Specialist, Doctor, Professor, Officer, Archivist. Archivist Obsidian. This will determine what people called your captain. Your captain's gender is up to you. Right. Continue onwards. Start a game. So essentially that was just the intro, and we're now progressing onwards towards more interesting things, hopefully. 3 weeks have passed. This morning, Captain Whitlock received a simple memorial service. A body was consigned to a necropolis train found bound for Serene Mausoleum. Now you sit with a handful of her relatives in a threadbare offices of her solicitors. A methodical notary is reading the will. The captain was wealthy once, but squandered her capital on mysterious expenses before her expedition to the Blue Kingdom. Listen to the end. The captain's relatives, from whom she was mostly estranged, are clearly wondering why you are here. I'm feeling they're going to be disappointed. What do you think? True to her word. In final codicil, the notary announces, Captain Whitlock confirmed that possessions of the Orphean was to pass to its first officer. He peers at you with dry, grey eyes. This includes a certain black box contained in the Orphean's hold. Captain Whitlock's final request was that, at a time of your choosing, you transport said box to an address in London. He hands you an address card and deposit it there. You are not to look inside. She gave no explanation. And that's it. You're captain now. The Orphean is yours. Captain Whitlock's legacy. You can investigate the black box at New Winchester. You could take the box to London as requested, or you could sell it and be done. You have been bequeathed a large black box, which once belonged to Captain Whitlock. You've gained 100 sovereigns. It's a pretty decent amount of money, isn't it? The clamouring central station of New Winchester, a place of steam and smut and thundering iron. Here you can find people willing to pay for a skilled captain's service. Explore the city, the smoggy, clinking, the singing, the stamping, thronging, frantic heart of the Reach. Recruit a driver. An opportunity. Ambition, old friend. Follow your return to the New Winchester. You're eager to meet up. Investigate the black box. Captain Whitlock left it to you in the hold of the Orphean. Will described it only as a black box. A description you consider to be unhelpful and understatement. An unhelpful understatement. It is a casket of black basalt, longer than you are tall, unadorned, with a single small recess that contains a keyhole. Repair or hire crew. Right, let's go see what the black box is all about. Consider what to do with it. Captain Whitlock had a specific request. Whether you obey it is up to you. Try and remember when Captain acquired the box. It was the subject of speculation among the crew. Examine the box. It has the dimensions of a sarcophagus plundered from the tomb of a forgotten prince. So we've got some options here that require us to have some stuff that we actually haven't got at the moment, which would allow us to do other things with the box. But then this is fine, because really I just want to do what the captain wanted. Captain Whitlock had it brought on board just before your ill-fated expedition to the Blue Kingdom. It was empty then, you know, because you saw the lid and the box carried on board separately and assembled in the hold. It's not empty now. It is sealed and even heavier before. Perhaps she's had some disease, the captain, and left whatever caused it inside the black box, and now wants to deliver it here to Winchester or the Reach. We left, who knows? But you left it for the Blue King. But you left for the Blue Kingdom shortly after the box was delivered, and made no stops on the way. So whatever is inside the box now, Captain Whitlock found in the Blue Kingdom. Alright, examine the box. There's no carvings or inscriptions on it. The joint where the lid meets the body is too thin to admit even a knife blade. There are no holes by which the light or air might find their way in. It is impossible to see inside without opening it. Even the keyhole has been engineered in such a way as to prevent peeking. The recess with the keyhole, though, as far as you can determine, that is a more recent addition to the box. The stone has been drilled and chiselled away to create space for a modern metal lock. Right, we're going to consider what to do with it. We're going to actually go and deliver it. Decisions. Last request of Captain Amelia Whitlock was for the box to be transported to a specific address in London. Alternatively, you could perhaps find someone willing to purchase it as a curiosity. And if you knew what was inside, you might be able to command a higher price. Examine the box. Sell the box as a curiosity. No, we want to actually deliver it. How do we deliver it? Consult with an academic. He comes recommended by several acquaintances. He will give you his rarefied opinion. If you have an unusual trophy from the journeys, to share with him. But why is the only option I've got here to sell the box? So I've got no option there at the moment. Let's try that again. That seems very odd, doesn't it? Detonate the locks with an explosion. Pick the lock yourself. Find someone who could open it from among your peers. Consult with an academic. Now, I don't want to do any of that. I actually want to deliver the box. Okay, whatever, I guess. That's something we're meant to come back to later on for some reason. Let's go explore the city. Right, opportunity to learn about trading. Visit the Promise of Days, a club where seasoned captains gather to trade stories and share advice among skyfarers. Inquire about the Winchester War. How goes the war? The slow-burning war for the Reach forms the backdrop of daily life in New Winchester. Citizens wishing to keep up with developments in the war turn to the New Gazette. It is famously the only newspaper worth reading in the New Winchester, as well as the only paper that hasn't bankrupted itself. Its quality speaks for itself. You can read about You can read about the progress of war. Check your reputation with the factions and who currently controls the Reach. Read about the current political situation. Search the New Gazette for your name. That's a bit self-appreciating, isn't it? Your name does not appear in any of the tactically-focused reporting on the war. Apparently you're not considered worthy of comment, which is good as far as I'm concerned. There's no mention of you among the stories about the Stovepipe's recent fortunes. You're not of interest to them. The Assembly runs a New Winchester from Victory Hall and seeks to strengthen its hand in the Reach. London's proxy, the Windward Company, however, maintains a considerable presence in the Reach. Although New Winchester is still neutral ground, tensions are mounting within and without the port. Right, explore the city, other opportunities, ambitions, old friend. Investigate the black box, repair your locomotive, and let's hire some crew perhaps. Hire some of the turncoats crew as replacement. Your voyages have grown perilous of late. Numbers and morale are lower than they were. We did lose a crew member and a captain. Today the New Winchester is abuzz with rumour. A famous tackety captain has turned tail and fled back to London, promised a generous pension and a full pardon in exchange for selling secrets. His crew are at a loose end, and under the cloud of suspicion, will they ever find work again? I had some of the turncoats crew as replacements. Do we really want crew members like that? No one else will have them. For the cost of around... No, I don't think we'll have... We're not that desperate. Explore the city. Recruit the innocuous driver. I specialise in test driving, but I'm looking for something quieter. As long as they don't crash the ship. This will get you a chief engineer who will increase your iron by 6, your hearts by 2, and your affiliation establishment by 1. I wonder how much that's going to actually cost. This will unlock... You unlock this with 148 sovereigns. You needed 20. So does that actually cost us? The driver board's eager to get started. I recently parted ways with the Windward Company, they explain. Personally, I think a week isn't so bad. They disagreed. Oh well, live and learn. Well, no crashing my ship, please. Alright, opportunities. So, we're not going to look for other opportunities just yet. We're going to head on our way back to... what's going on here? Excuse me, Captain. A woman pushes through the crowds towards you. She's short and square-shouldered in a neat black suit and polished shoes. She shows you the case of her pocket watch. It is embossed with the crown and hourglass of London's Horological Office. The body responsible for ensuring time is consistent across the Empire. I'm hoping to book passage to Port Prosper, she says, slipping the watch away. I can of course pay. Pay sounds promising. Yeah, we go there. Port Prosper sounds fine to me. Thank you. The locomotive I was on broke down following a boiler rupture. The chief engineer's fault, I suspect. A gentleman fonder of brandy than of diligence. Here, an initial sum to seal our bargain. The Prosper lies to the southwest of New Winchester. Not that there is such a thing as north, southeast, and indeed west out here. Instead, London cartographers picked 4 of the brighter, more reliable stars visible from the Empress's new palace, and named them northeast, south and west. Londoners value familiarity, and why not? And we got 15 sovereigns for that. So, following your return to New Winchester, you're eager to meet up with old friends. Following your return to New Winchester, you're eager to meet up with new friends. You shared a leaky student garret with them at university. She studied medicine and had a flair for innovative, her tutor would say inappropriate, research. You were surprised when she chose the solid, predictable path of becoming a general practitioner. Perhaps she was tired of arguing, or perhaps she does experiments whilst no one is looking. It didn't stick. Coming to the skies revitalised her love of research. Before the year was out, she sold her practice, bought a locomotive and became a skyfarer. She is now captain of the Azazel. She associates with a group of seasoned captains who gather at the Promise of Days here in New Winchester. Perhaps you can find her there. Maybe. I do want to try and carry on here, but... Oh, I don't know. Let's get going. We can always come back. Right, R to undock. Come on, let's go. We want to get underway. Wow, pressed R twice. Don't press R twice. There we go. We're now underway. So southwest. Does M bring up map key? And unfortunately not. What key was that then? Tab brings up the chart. Okay. So southwest down here somewhere, I guess. Is Port Prosper. That's where we'll head towards. Underway again. So yeah, pretty interesting game so far. A lot of reading, but if you're a fan of real old school games, then this is probably something you're likely to enjoy. I mean, for me, this is a lot better than a lot of other more recent modern games out there. Scam's Narrow. I actually downloaded Genesis Alpha 1 the other day as well, and did want to do a video on that, but I think it's going to take a little bit of more time for me to get into that, and See whether it's actually worthy of doing the video. South, southwest. So we're still going very much south. There's a lot of strange noises around. Something off to the right almost. Let's have a look at that map again. Right, we've gone far too south, I suspect. Let's go this way. Also curious what happens if you run out of fuel whilst you're out here, or supplies. The fuel is holding fairly well, but the supplies are decreasing pretty rapidly. So my understanding is that this is meant to be in space rather than just purely in the skies, hence the text early on saying there's no northeast, south and west up here. But it's certainly a very weird area. Whoa! That one come on us a little bit unexpectedly. Let's let that vessel calm down a little bit. Got them. That one did come up a little bit unexpectedly, didn't it? Your heat bar is full. That happens when you fire many shots in a short succession. While you're overheated, you can't use lateral thrust, and if you fire a weapon, you'll take damage. Okay, jolly good. Thanks for letting us know. You approach the buckled wreckage, poised to plunder the plunderers. Behind you, someone is humming a song of victory. Board the defeated Marauder. The crew of the Marauder lie dead in a corridor, killed not by your guns, but by knives and small arms fire. The only survivor is the captain, locked in the brig with a bottle of brandy. Chalk eyes stare back from every wall. When he ran out of chalk, he began scraping them in with his fingernails. Little remains of them, but blotted stumps. Seen this before, Captain, says a crew member, grasping your arm. Sky madness. Magdalenes can treat it, if he can be bothered to take the poor sod. Bring the poor fellow on board. The high wilderness is cruel. This could easily be... put him out of his misery. Let's take him. It probably caused trouble aboard our ship. The crew wrap the sky-maddened captain in blankets, then secures them tightly with belts. Wonder if it's the one who killed the crew. It takes 4 to transport him safely to your locomotive. He might not be happy restrained, but it should keep him from harm until you get him to the Magdalenes. Magdalene lays southwest of New Winchester, which is where we're heading anyway. The captain's secured. You have a moment to see whether there's anything of worth on his locomotive before abandoning it to the wilderness. We now have a tale of terror. Strip the engine of materials. Right, what do we want to do? Some of it is even intact. Your crew go to work eagerly. You've gained 3 hull, now 30. Okay. Well, let's see if we can get to Magdalene's and... oh no, we've got another searchlight over there. I wonder if that's a town searchlight or if that is... what we got here. Or if that is another Marauder. Certainly something large. Don't think I want to go near that just yet. Oh, we got a wreck. The Axon. That hull adrift abandoned slightly, gleams with frost. The wreck gleams with frost. Its windows are dark. The engine silent. Perhaps something of value lies within. More than dead, it's proper. Signal the wreck. The windows of the crew quarters are occupied with frost. What was that movement you saw? Your signaler fetches their signal lamp and flashes a patient message into each portside window. You watch and wait. There, hands banging at the glass from within, a wild-eyed face. You dispatch a boarding party and they retrieve a survivor who is eager to sign on. She proves to be a hard worker, however, her reckless laughter, and her stories of horrid, haunting things she saw from a frosty window do not improve morale. You've gained 10 terror. Well, that seems unfortunate, doesn't it? New Prospero is where we're after. I'm wondering if we're really heading in the right direction here. I'd say we're still almost southwest of perhaps we should have gone that way. Although that's bordering on southwest at that point, isn't it? Let's keep going. Maybe this is the right direction. A stopped clock. The fastidious inspector approaches you in the galley. Captain, good day. I notice your ship's clock has stopped. Perhaps you permitted me to repair it. Just a little case of tools. Yeah, you can do it. She gives a grateful flicker of a smile and sets to work. Soon she has at the back of the clock and spread tiny cogs across the galley table. Obscure horological tools gleam brassily among them. Everything has a place. I appreciate the opportunity to keep myself busy. Staring too long at the stars is harmful to the temperament. A fastidious inspector has a round face, brown eyes and short dark hair. She gives the impression of being perpetually busy. Inquire about her work, what are the duties, discuss the reach, the wide wild frontier, compliment her skills, bid her good evening. Let's have a listen about the reach. It is an uncouth splendour, but I miss Albion. In the steady light of the clockwork sun. The sunless reaches are so misty and quiet, she pauses, but critical, the territories are at rich and raw hours. And enough vegetation grows on them to feed the whole of London, even if some of it is of dubious shape. Now, it's interesting here they mention the clockwork sun. The text of the game mentions that the sun has been defeated, that Queen Victoria defeated the sun and replaced it with a clockwork sun. Whatever that's supposed to mean. Right, let's bid her a good evening. There's a bunch of sounds going off in the background, some sort of, sounds like cannon fire. We're bordering on south here of Winchester. I have a feeling I've gone the wrong way. Unless this buckles back towards the west, which it might well do, in which case we could be alright, but... Whoa! No! Damn it. The peacock wind delivers its bounty. Your supplies burst into new sickly sweet growth, but some of them also wail as they go into the pot. Perkins' corpse. Your bridge windows fog with recent stream trails. This place is well frequented. You're low on supplies. Yes. You discovered... Oh, well, Mr. Tex there saying something about discovering ports. Oh, you're approaching a newly discovered port. This has significantly reduced your terror. Your crew are always thankful to find another place or relative safety in the skies, however strange or full of devils or covered in mushrooms. And some lovely music again. So we're at Magdalene's, not New Prospero or whatever it was they wanted, New Prosper. Magdalene's is the closest thing many skyfarers have to home. It offers services to alleviate the strain of a life spent too close to the stars. Magdalene's house of small comfort. And this is where we want to take the captain, I do believe. The glass spires of Magdalene's pierce the clouds like swords. Shadowed figures can be seen moving through the gleaming corridors, their identities obscured by hued glass. Crowds of skyfarers, ministry officials, and merchants mill about at the forecast in varying degrees of distress. All watch the clock set in the great clock tower, waiting for their appointed hour. Deliver the sky-maddened captain. The nurses bring a stretcher to carry the sky-maddened captain from your train. He'll receive the care of Magdalene's finest. At least Magdalene's finest with a sense of charity, given that he has nothing on him to pay for their ministrations. Right, we now have 1 Visions of Heaven. You're briefly without terror. You now have 100 experience. Okay. Right, meeting with an amiable host, the founder and master of the ceremonies here. Speak with an attendant. Write a port report. What we're going to do is close this, I think, and look at what's going on over there. Now, what we're going to do is actually end the video right here. I did say right at the start we wanted to go for the first half hour, but we're actually up here at 50 minutes. I think that gives us a good feel of what the game's likely to be about. I'll definitely be coming back for a lot more of this. It's very interesting to me. It's got some nice gameplay here and a fantastic realisation of the world around it. It's going to be interesting to explore it for sure. Hopefully you're going to enjoy it a bit. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.